What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. Today, we are discussing this week's hot topic of Steve Borock leaving CBCS. I know this news is a couple days old now. Most of you are probably aware of this, but I wanted to dive into this and give you all my personal perspective on what I think this means for the grading industry as a whole. Before we get into it, folks, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. I'm here making content almost every single day of the week. Please check out all the links in the description below, including links to my official merch website, including how you can become a member of the channel via Patreon or by joining via YouTube membership, and to all of my other channel affiliates. All right. It was announced 2 days ago from recording this that Steve Borock, the president and founder of CBCS, is leaving and moving on to My Comic Shop. So a lot of things to take here. First off, I know we all have our feelings and reactions to him leaving in the first place, but there's also some questions to bring up in terms of where he's going. So I'm just going to read this post that CBCS released when this first started transpiring. It states, Steve has been giving a great opportunity to work with My Comic Shop here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which allows him to do even more in the comic book industry. Along with grading thousands of books each year for CBCS, Steve has been instrumental in the training and development of our grading staff since the inception of CBCS. And for those that don't know, Steve was one of the original members of CGC, who further left and went on to create CBCS. Moving on here, it states, as one of the early pioneers of the comic book grading industry, as I just stated, we were blessed to have Steve pave the way for current and future CBCS employees. We hate to lose Steve, but wish him well with his new opportunity and know that we will be working with Steve on other projects soon. Okay, but now we're going to add what they just announced today, and then we're going to talk a little about My Comic Shop, and then I'm going to talk about what I think this means for the comic book grading industry. And I'm not going to sensationalize this stuff, folks. I'm going to be straightforward. This is what they state today. Quote, I am sad to be leaving CBCS, but know that I am leaving my position as primary grader in the very capable hands of Wes Steffen, who was my second in command. So this adds on to more of, okay, how are we setting CBCS up with Steve being gone? What's this going to look like? Customers want to know. They want to know that they can still be confident with CBCS's service and product, right? So this is a quote directly from Steve, really talking up Wes and his credentials, and, letting everyone know that CBCS is still going to be a top tier grading company, even though Steve is leaving. All right. Let's talk about the My Comic Shop position, and this is where we start questioning. But we got to understand, folks, we don't know. We hear this information, and all we have to do is put our own assumptions to it. My first initial thoughts are Steve is leaving to be head consignment director of mycomicshop.com. To me, it still feels like a step down, even though mycomicshop.com is one of the largest online retailers there are. But maybe what we don't see is that it's just a personal choice change for Steve. Maybe Steve doesn't want to grade comics anymore. He has close relationships with folks over at My Comic Shop. So maybe it's just a matter of a change in scenery. He still has I'm sure he's getting paid good money doing what he's doing. He still gets to work in comics because that's where he wants to be, obviously doing something with comics. And it's a way to where he can interact with more people or different people in a different type of way. And maybe that's all this is. Maybe there isn't any big conspiracy behind this saying, oh, well, Steve wants to get out of CBCS. Maybe he knew that CBCS is hitting a brick wall, or there's nowhere else to go, or CGC is just dominating the market and he's trying to get out while he can. All this crazy stuff. There's nothing to validate anything like that whatsoever. So these are some quotes that were on the CBCS forum that I'm going to read here, and it comes from My Comic Shop executives. Conan Saunders says he's welcomed Steve, quote, We are very excited to have Steve join us. We count ourselves among the many fans and customers of CBCS's grading services and have enjoyed seeing CBCS grow from the new kid on the block to one of the two foremost grading services for comics. Steve leads by example, and the integrity and focus on quality that he displayed at CBCS are just two of the reasons why we feel so fortunate to have him join our team. I'm sorry to be taking him away from CBCS, but I know that CBCS remains in very capable hands with West Steffen and his stellar grading team, as well as their partners at Beckett. All right, and Steve even says this, quote, "I am excited to start this new step in my career working alongside my friends Conan and Buddy Saunders and the rest of the very capable team at my comic shop. The fanboy in me is overwhelmed by this opportunity. Not only will I be helping collectors and dealers get top dollar for their prized comic books, but I get to work with Buddy and Conan to grow the one-of-a-kind company they built." So that right there speaks to everything that I just said. I really think this is a personal choice. Maybe Steve felt he could do all that he could do with CBCS and it's time to pass the baton, and he wants to go dip his toes and mingle in different areas of this hobby to see what he can spread his magic to, so to say. So, what does this mean for CBCS? What does this mean for the grading company in general, folks? This could go two ways. The first is probably going to tend to what a lot of naysayers might be already saying. It's probably going to tend to a lot of those CGC diehards that think that CGC is always going to remain top dog on the market, king of the throne. They're taking this in and they're loving it, saying, yeah, nobody's knocking CGC off the top now. CBCS might not be able to get themselves back in a position to be able to compete on a level with CGC that they've already have been, and as they've been doing so, they still haven't caught up to CGC. I do believe over the last, even 5 years, CBCS has done a lot to take in more of the market, the graded industry market. I think they've done a lot to better their labels, to better their cases, to better their product and service. I think they have a long way to go into getting even to a point where CGC is at, but they made great progress under Steve for sure. But not everything was going peachy clean as it might seem. And here's a very interesting thing. CGC has been in the limelight over the last year and a half, plus due to a lot of quality control issues, crazy turnaround times. Some people were waiting over a year. And then, of course, the 2 price increases. And this caused an uproar. I'm sending my books to CBCS. What has been happening with CBCS, though, has kind of gone under the radar. CBCS is having crazy turnaround times as well, at times even worse than CGC. I knew someone who just got their books back. It took them 15 months to get their books back from CBCS. 15 months, guys. And CBCS recently increased their prices as well, and nobody talked about it. I don't have all the details to the price increases, like the exact dollar amounts. It's not what this video is about. We're not going to dive into that. But while both times CGC announced their price increases over the last 18 months, everyone talked about it. Everyone, every YouTuber, including myself, every forum on Facebook and on Reddit, and everyone was talking about it. Crickets when it came to CBCS. And you could argue, well, CBCS still isn't CGC. Sure, but it's still CBCS. And they are second to the top. My point I'm making is that with the growing pains, you get the good and the bad. And CBCS was right there alongside CGC with the good and the bad. There was the good and the bad, and there were a lot of parallels. So, on the flip side of saying this could be a tumbling effect for CBCS and they cannot rebound because they've already had the good with the bad. They've had crazy turnaround times and all these issues. This could be an absolute opportunity to evolve in a way that they've never evolved before. A lot of times when you get flesh blood into a company, it breathes life into it. And I'm going to use Apple as a prime example. In the 1980s, Apple thought they needed to breathe new life. They booted Steve Jobs. The board booted Steve Jobs from his own company, the company that he created out of his garage, to bring in the CEO of, was it Pepsi, I believe? Or was it Coke? I forget off the top of my head. I do believe it was PepsiCo. And he almost ran Apple into the ground. What did they do? They brought Steve Jobs back, and the rest is history. Because he revolutionized Apple forever. So you can have a situation right here where, you know, you get the wrong person in here, it could be all hell. But I, as an optimist, think that now we are charting new waters. Steve still laid the groundwork. He still laid the groundwork. If we can now get somebody in here to understand Steve's vision, see the pros of what Steve was doing, but then think outside of the box that was Steve Borock, and even look to aspects in building this brand in the grading industry above and beyond where it was already going. This is great opportunity right here. And not just for CBCS. This can be a great opportunity for EGS, and dare I say, even PGX. While this could be a checkmate play for CGC, it very well could be. I actually am more optimistic for this to be a play that opens up the door even more for new, innovative, creative processes within the grading industry, folks. I am very excited to see where this goes. We already know that EGS is making moves. They got their own proprietary cases coming in, I think, less than 2 months here now. I was liking what CBCS was doing over the last couple of years, and let's see what happens next. I am excited about this, and I think all of this excitement is going to challenge CGC too. I hope CGC just doesn't get cocky. I hope they get challenged. And I hope that CBCS challenges themselves. I hope that EGS continues to challenge themselves and grow, which they've been doing. And I know that I have a lot of bad taste in my mouth with PGX, but I never want to count anyone out. I never want to sit here and say that nobody can come back from the mistakes of their past, because you always can. I think this could be a refreshing, rejuvenating moment in time for the grading world in the grading industry. And that is my no spin. I'm not sensationalizing this. I'm coming straight at you with how I really can see this panning out, and now only time will tell. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. What do you think of Steve Borock leaving CBCS? How do you think this is going to affect CBCS? How do you think it's going to affect CGC and all the other grading companies? And how do you think this will play out for the totality of the grading industry in years to come? Thank you all for watching. Be well. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time.